Hey, Patrick, how you doing, bud?
Not too bad at all, buddy. So, there's been a bit of an upset in the election over in your neck of the woods, has there?
Just about 6 or 7 hours south in LA. And there's been some
Yeah.
issues with the governor's race as well, with our direct primary system called the jungle primary. And the federal government is having some issues with it. So they're sending Bill Essayli, the first U.S. assistant attorney, or first assistant U.S. attorney. He's leading a review of the election in the state of California. And so it's the federal
Okay.
government wanting to look and see under the hood as to what the heck is going on out here.
So, does he work directly for the DOJ, is it?
Yes, he works for the Department of
Okay.
Justice. He represents as a U.S. First assistant U.S. attorney in the Los Angeles area, which is where there's
Okay.
been a bit of a turmoil, as you might say.
Right. Okay.
Here we go. We're going to watch this bit of an interview. We're going to watch a little Fox thing after that, and then we're going to show you a graphic and get this figured out.
Yeah, we'll tie it all together, as they would say. No bother at all.
First off, it's been announced that the federal government is investigating potential fraud into the election process. How's this going so far?
Yeah, I mean, we have multiple investigations open into potential fraud having to do with the election, the ballots, registrations, etc. We announced one case a month ago of a lady that was registering homeless people to vote and paying them to sign false information on voter registration forms. She's since been charged and pled guilty. We have other active investigations ongoing. We can't discuss the specifics of them. But in addition to that, we've called on the state of California to open up their voter rolls. There's a lot of distrust in the way California holds elections, and we believe the best way to handle that is through transparency. And
so transparency would be an amazing thing if the voters in California could be sure that the voter rolls were citizens and that they were assigned appropriate precincts, and all of that could be seen, at least from the California Secretary of State perspective, and then shown to the federal government that since we're involved in federal elections as well, that everything is copacetic, right? So it's the contention.
Okay.
It's the contention of the federal government that there isn't enough transparency and there's a bunch of inky stuff going on. And by opening up the voter rolls to the federal government, they could say, yes, all of your voters are appropriately citizens and of age and all the things required to be a voter in that place.
Now, have they done this with other states?
Yes. And those states were like, yeah, here you go. Take a look.
So, all states in the United States have complied except California?
I don't know that all of them have complied, but most states, when requested to show voter rolls, would want the federal government to look at it so that they could be on the same page to ensure the sanctity of the election. There shouldn't even be a question. If the federal government says, hey, we want to make sure, since you're partaking in our elections at a federal level, that we can see the voter rolls. The issue with that, in some sense, is that the states were assigned the task of ensuring that they did it correctly and that it was safeguarded appropriately. But a lot of folks who are in the 14 states that have these kind of jungle primaries are uncomfortable, especially based on immigration issues and other things like that.
Okay. It's just interesting that it seems to be hyper focus on California. I was just surprised that all the rest of the states have complied.
I didn't say I know that they complied, but many states have complied. If you have a second set of eyes that says, yes, okay, awesome, I can see that all your voters, or at least the massive majority, 99+%, are appropriate to be voting as citizens, then yeah, well, why wouldn't you want a second set of eyes? Why would you say no to that?
What's the worry with California opening it up, or other states as well? Why don't they want this particular administration look at their voter rolls?
Leave us alone. We're fine. We can do this. We got this.
Right.
Stop supervising me. I'm not a child.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Okay.
So it's just the sanctity of the election in the United States seems to be on a bit of a downturn, put it mildly.
It seems to be that way since 2020 onwards, really, hasn't it? There seems to be a lot of theories around your election process.
Well, in 2016, the individual that lost accused the individual who won of rigging the election too. So I think he goes back even further than that. And I think sometimes nobody wants to lose, right?
Yes.
And then the individual who lost in 2016 indicated the individual who won 45th presidency was illegitimate in some fashion.
Yeah, I know. I know Hillary Clinton, because of the election process you have with the electoral college and so on, that she won the popular vote, but he won the electoral college at the time.
Correct.
And I know there was a bit of a, it kind of was very strange for us watching it from the outside in, how that kind of worked.
I don't know that we want to have a class on the electoral college, but
Yes,
if you would like,
yeah.
I can do that. It's not fun.
It might be an interesting topic for another video, as they would say.
Well, it's a good system in a high trust place, but as trust in society has been massively reduced, it makes it more difficult.
I think trust in your entire electoral process has been really severely damaged in the last 10 plus years, hasn't it?
Well, it feels like the direct primaries or the jungle primaries are a bit out of sorts with modernity. So, let's get back to Mr. Bill Essayli here.
And through complying with federal law by allowing the federal government to audit the rolls of California.
LA County Registrar, I mean, you're hearing from them, they're basically saying that everything's clean and there's no evidence of any widespread fraud.
Well, how would he know? He has no idea. California has made it basically open to anybody register to vote. They're not going to check your citizenship. You can register with a gym card. No one thinks that's a legitimate way to determine that only U.S. qualified citizens are voting. They have dirty rolls. They're not cleaning them up. You have dead people getting ballots. You have people who've moved getting ballots. And then they have universal vote by mail, so they mail millions of ballots. And then you have ballot harvesting.
So it's a chain of custody issue. A lot of residents of the state of California feel with the universal mail-out ballots, it isn't just, hey, here's all the people that are voting, or here's all the people that are running for office, and make your selection. We'll see on election day. It's everybody in the state of California gets one well, anyone who's registered to vote gets one. But that doesn't necessarily mean that everybody who's registered to vote is a citizen either, because our vetting process, although the California Secretary of State says it's good, it doesn't feel good. And if it doesn't feel good, and we're obligated to the federal government to show them the voter rolls, it doesn't make any sense that we wouldn't. Why would you want to hide the thing that you're supposed to be able to show that it is clean, right?
Yes, but I think what people are wondering is, we see other elections in other democracies that have mail-in ballots and so on, that there doesn't seem to be this much of a problem in any other democracy.
Right, but culturally, it's not the same. I would say it's a little bit different.
What, other democracies or?
Well, so the state of California, the election process is a little different. So our voting process, our precincts are open for between 4 and 11 days. So you have quite amount of time to physically get to the location. So if you're on travel, if you're in the military, or you are a immobile person based on being a senior citizen, or you're paralyzed, or you can't get their hospitalization, whatever the thing is, right? But if everyone can do it and the constituency doesn't feel like there's an appropriate chain of custody with all of the ballots, and then on top of that, we have ballot harvesting. So someone can go get ballots for people and say, hey, you have a ballot, you filled it out? Yeah, cool. Can I take that and bring it down for you? Oh yeah, sure, go ahead. Right? It doesn't feel secure in that way.
Okay, so that's the issue of trust.
Yeah, integrity, trust. Two pretty big important words when it comes to an election, right? And if there is no integrity and there's no trust, then is there a legitimate election taking place?
Yeah.
Or is it just a really horrible shell game?
Receiving the ballot, filling the ballot out, and returning it. So the ROV, with all due respect, he has no idea what the hell's going on. He has no idea. All he knows is he's getting ballots in the mail.
The ROV is the registrar of voters for the area. Each city, county, like they all have their own registrar of voters. And they're supposed to ensure the integrity of the election, of whatever election, be it for bonds or for individuals in offices or whatever the people are voting on bonds.
and he's counting them. For him to say that there's no fraud, he doesn't know what he's talking about.
So is it more of a frustration with the overall voting system in California?
Well, I think the system is what opens the door for fraud. I mean, when you have a system, you want people to have confidence and faith in the system. If you were designing an election system and you want people to have faith in it, you would do everything opposite of what California does. Most states do not allow what California does. Most states, it is illegal to ballot harvest. So we have a crisis credibility in our election system in California. We think the best way to deal with that is with an audit. Let us see the voter rolls and let us help California clean them up.
You know what ballot harvesting is?
I've seen a couple of different videos. Do you want to explain to everyone?
So about ballot harvesting is when individuals, generally speaking, it's going to be from the Democrat or Republican Party, go to their registered voters place and say, hey, have you voted? And if they haven't voted, you say, hey, did you fill out your ballot? Yes, I did. Would you allow me to take your ballot in? Sure. But it doesn't have to be someone specifically assigned by the registrar of voters. It can be anybody who works for that space and can physically take them. You know, do I trust a random person who's knocked on my door who just happens to say they're a Republican or a Democrat, as I would be a Republican or Democrat, to take my ballot with them, right? So there's a chain of custody issue. How do I know that individual doesn't change my ballot or do something strange, right? So it just feels like there's an integrity issue there.
That seems so. That's very much lack of trust in the people collecting ballots, isn't it?
Well, the ballots that were harvested in Los Angeles County were taken by helicopter to some of the places. So apparently there was enough money to ballot harvest and include helicopters, which cost, I don't know, $1,000 an hour to rent, right? So
Right.
that's a lot of money to move ballots when you could just say, hey, there's some absentee ballots for some situations, but otherwise you need to go to the polls. And since
And
the
there's
polls in California are open from 4 to 11 days to include the election day, you would have 4 days to over a week to take your little self over to the polls and vote in person.
obviously there's proof around the helicopters and all this, isn't there?
Yes,
Okay.
they use the choppers. Not the choppers.
And who reported on this?
It was Fox on that one, but there were helicopters.
Fox. Okay.
I'll pull it
Any
up.
other news agency?
Oh yeah, for sure. I'll pull it up for you.
Okay.
We'll do it afterward, and we'll just link it into the thing so you can see it.
Do you, on a personal level, do you trust the election system in California?
Well, I'm not going to get into my personal views. It's not my job. My job is to do investigations, and when we have sufficient evidence, we will bring those charges forward for the public and everyone to see, and we'll litigate that in court. So that's our plan. That's what we're going to do. But as far as the election system itself, that's up to the people of California. If they want to continue the elections this way, that's up to them. But our opinion, the opinion of the federal government, is that this system is susceptible to fraud.
Looking at the mayor's race, we saw these big bets on Cauchy.
Yeah.
While Pratt was up, I want to say tens of thousands of votes, we saw Cauchy all of a sudden flipping towards Raman. Is that something that the federal government's going to look into?
It potentially.
From the 4th to the 6th, so from the day of the election, for a 48-hour period, Nithya Raman got 80,000 votes, which was double what she already had plus 10,000. So it looked a little strange. Yeah. I don't know if it's strange or not, but it looks really strange from when the election time is stopped, like it's election day. So after 8 p.m. on election day, 48 hours, she gets a massive influx of votes, right? Like the best fourth quarter comeback you have ever seen in any sport you've ever watched.
Can I ask you? I'm going to ask a question that probably most people are going to ask.
Yeah, go ahead.
If the 40,000 votes went to Pratt, for instance, instead of the other lady, would there be this question around that also?
Well, for sure, because the graph would indicate, since it's randomized, right? The votes are randomized. So when they count them, it should be a random sampling of the votes, right? So if it's a random sampling, it seems very strange that if Karen Bass or Spencer Pratt or Nithya Raman got 80,000 votes in a super short period of time, for any 3 of them that would have been off the charts. It would have not have been appropriate.
Okay.
And I don't know who would have been screaming and yelling about it, but for any of the three of them to have all of a sudden get 80,000 votes in that small time frame doesn't look legitimate.
Yes, but what I find is it's when certain people from certain parties seem to lose an election, but there's a lot of these talking heads suddenly come out with all these different theories. I think a lot of it would be right to kind of ask that question.
Well, of course. No, it just makes sense. And if it happens on either side. But the thing, a mayor's race shouldn't really be, are you a Republican or a Democrat? It should be,
It shouldn't be,
run my
but
city.
in a two-party system, it normally does come down to that.
Because it does.
Actually, if there's suspicious trading on there, that might be something we'll look into. Again, I'm not going to get into any specifics of what we are and we're not doing.
But I guess hypothetically, if
Yeah.
someone's dropping a lot of money on Raman while she was down tens of thousands of votes, I mean,
Well, you'd have to understand why they're doing that. If maybe they have some insider polling, or maybe they saw some early indicators, or they went into precinct data. We don't really know, but we're gonna follow the evidence wherever it goes. We're not going to preview it. We're not going to suggest anything anyone did anything particularly illegal until we have the evidence to make a case in court.
Kalshi is a you can bet on results of all kinds of things type site. And one of the things that Kalshi will do is say the LA mayor race. Who do you think's going to win? Going to be K. Bass, S. Pratt, or N. Raman? Who's going to be the top, right?
Yeah.
So when you see a very strange, again, sampling of betting, when a person is tens of thousands of votes behind, but they say, you know what, I think this person's going to win. And then a lot of people start betting that way. It looks a little strange, right? So
it looks strange. I know this particular website has been investigated. Well, was started to be investigated by the DOJ after Venezuela at that time. And it was that in particular investigation on that website was shut down.
If you've seen any evidence of election fraud, if you've seen people mishandle ballots, if someone voted in your name, we want to know. So we've created an email inbox, CA election fraud tips at usdoj.gov, and we welcome people to submit their evidence there. And we have agents here at the FBI that will go investigate.
and you put that out on Twitter. Could you ballpark how many tips that you've gotten since you put that message out? I want to say about 5 days ago.
I know that there's tons of emails coming in. I don't have a number on it yet.
Dozens, hundreds. I mean,
I honestly, I'm not doing the intake. The agents are. So we have folks inside my office, the FBI and HSI. They're all working on this as we speak.
anything else? I mean, I know that this is kind of number one in the Trump.
So getting the people involved in that kind of thing, regardless of affiliation, is a good idea. If we have whistleblowers that can say, I've seen a thing, then at least the thing can be investigated. And I think that goes a long way toward integrity.
Yes, but you also have to be careful that a lot of these whistleblowers are legitimate as well. Because I remember after 2020, they set up these different tip lines, and there's a lot of cookie investigations.
For the Russiagate thing. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. You got to make sure there isn't a kook on the other end of the line just trying to make a name for themselves. We're trying to jam up the process just for the purposes of jamming up the process.
I think there's a theme in California, whether it's Medicare fraud, hospice fraud, or election fraud. California is not doing the things to instill confidence. They're not detecting and preventing the fraud. They almost make it easy, and they lay out the welcome mat for fraudsters. So California, I call it, it's a fraudster's paradise here. There's no chain of custody, there's no audit trail, there's no checks and balances. It is just put out as much money as possible on the healthcare side, and then put out as many ballots as possible on the voter side, and they don't care about election integrity or fraud. Go talk to them. They'll just tell you there's no evidence of fraud without ever looking at any of our cases, any of the charges we've brought. They just tell you there's no fraud, and it's like they're parrots.
We're gonna close out this portion of the video, but
yeah, interesting.
Right. What he's saying is there's a lack of trust in the populace in the state of California.
Yes,
and that's a true statement. And there are things that we could do to help better safeguard our elections and other the Employment Development Division, our Medi-Cal, and there is much more that we could do, but for some reason we're not doing it. And I'm not sure why. The next part of the video is going to be about a newscast from Live Now Fox in LA. We're going to be discussing this process as it was wrapping up, and then we will see what that looks like. Yeah, so It's kind of a real time kind of, we're going left to right on the radio dial.
Real time reaction, actually, yeah.
Streaming on Fox Local, I'm Christine Devine. The Associated Press is projecting that Nithya Raman is going to advance and go against incumbent Karen Bass in the race for LA mayor. Nithya Raman capturing 29% of the vote compared to Spencer Pratt's 26%. Mayor Bass, as we've told you before, her campaign just put out a brief statement because she's already advanced. A campaign against Nithya Raman, who allows encampments near schools and cuts the police force, is one Mayor Bass looks forward to winning. So far, we've not received a statement from either Raman or Spencer Pratt.
The progression of the voting was at the end of the voting day, Nithya Raman had about 70,000 votes. And over the next 48 hours, as the mail-in ballots were counted, she got 80,000 votes. So she went to 150,000. And then
what's the figure here now?
Bass 275, Raman 229, Spencer 207.
Pretty close in a lot of ways.
It was very strange that if the sample of the ballots were to continue as a random set of ballots, then it should have been, the projection should have stayed roughly the same. There was a ton of ballot harvesting for Nithya Raman, who ended up winning multiple precincts all across the city while losing her own. Seems very strange.
Okay, unusual.
Yeah, very unusual.
And does she have the resources to put off something like this?
The DSA has the resources, and she signed a co-governance agreement with the Democratic Socialists of America. So they definitely have the financial wherewithal.
They definitely have the resources, do they?
Oh, for sure. 100%. Once Karen Bass got to 34%, there was no way that she wasn't going to be in the runoff.
Yes.
So she locked it in at 34%, which means that 33 and 33 from the other two would still have been, how many votes do you have to be in second? So the top two in the jungle primary are the ones that advance to November for the general election.
Right. Okay. Wow. So what is the overall picture? What are people saying about this entire election overall?
It lacks appropriate security. Chain of custody is out of whack. Ballot harvesting isn't allowed any other place but here. It seems like a way to fix the problem if you've lost now to win it later.
And I know there's a lot about voter ID and so on across California. And I know has been a bit of an issue, especially in not just California, but other states as well. That it's crazy the fact that you can use in California basically a club card.
A gym membership, yes. A gym membership is considered valid for proof of residency and citizenship to allow them to vote in California. Okay.
Very, very strange.
Well, I don't know if In Shape or California Family Fitness is checking your citizenship status. I think they just want their money for your membership. I think that's what they really care about.
And there's a big thing about citizenship. So how is that affecting elections?
California has a difficult time vetting for citizens. We give driver's licenses to those who are not citizens of the United States. And once you can get a driver's license, then you can start establishing things like a social security card, even if you're not a citizen. And you can also generate the ability to get the voting franchise and then vote.
Is California the only state that does that?
I don't know what other states do. I just know what this one does. I'm not I'm not aware of what all other 49 states and protectorates of the United States do, but California has this issue. But
yes, I know everyone's hyper focused on California. I'm just wondering how widespread do you think it is, the voter fraud across the United States?
Any place that has sanctuary policies has these policies.
Right. So it's just blue states, not red states.
Well, it's just blue cities.
Blue cities, okay.
Yeah, for the most part, but California is considered a sanctuary state, as is New York and a few others.
Are you shocked about yesterday, kind of the switch in the numbers? Nithya Raman's in second place now.
That is surprising.
Is it surprising? What did you think? Who did you think were going to be the final two? Obviously, we're still waiting.
I thought it was going to be Spencer Pratt and Karen Bass, yeah.
Were you shocked, or do you have...
No, not shocked.
No.
I'm not shocked. I think if you look at the way the population is distributed in Los Angeles, that's makes sense.
But you just still had hopes.
I did, given that our house is in the Palisades, he's the one who's really advocating for that. And I don't really see that from any of the other candidates.
In yesterday's Meet the Press interview, President Trump offered no evidence as he accused California of election rigging as the ballot count continues to be a slow process. According to the Secretary of State's website, more than 2 million ballots have yet to be counted statewide.
For some reason, we can't seem to count ballots in California in any kind of efficient fashion. India,
Yeah, I found that very, very
Brazil,
surprising, by the way.
Yeah, India, Brazil, Ireland, the UK, like everybody else can seem to get their election done on election day. It's done.
Yeah, but usually sometimes they might stretch to a second day, maybe even sometimes on a rare occasion a third and fourth day, but yeah, usually.
So it seems like it might be a better idea for us to get our voting and everything concluded by no later than the day after. It's done the day of the election day, the next day we post, and that's a wrap.
Yeah, I wonder, do they need resources to do it, or what is going on, do you think, in your own opinion?
I think the system is specifically set up that way. I think it's a feature, not a bug.
It's a feature, okay. It's a feature to benefit the Democrats?
Well, in whatever state you're in, whichever one, if you have jungle primaries in a state where Republicans are, all these same tactics and things could be used. Exactly the same thing. It would just be in the other direction, which at the end of the day isn't really the other direction. It doesn't seem as if our politicians are acting in our own best interest, just generally.
Yeah. It seems to be kind of an atmosphere at the moment. I'm just looking at a couple of different news reports across, by the way, not just California, but across the United States. And they seem to have very, very little faith in their elected officials. And by the way, on both sides of the aisle, by the sounds of it.
Right. Well, I think election integrity is where it starts. It looks like those who have money just continue in perpetuity.
By the way to the top?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have money, you get to play. If you don't, well, then you're one of the masses.
Former LA City Council member Mike Bonin says the president is reacting prematurely.
We're in this surreal world now where we're simply counting. And there are people like Donald Trump, like Spencer Pratt, who are making a conspiracy out of counting. It's like saying that you were winning at the half at the Super Bowl and you're upset that they kept playing the second half of the game. Right?
The Super Bowl doesn't have ballot harvesting. Super Bowl is done when the Super Bowl is done.
And right? how much does ballot harvesting affect the overall results?
If you have that system in place, it can affect it horribly. And because it can affect it horribly, it probably shouldn't be in place. So you can't say in an election that there is zero fraud.
No matter how perfect your election system is around the world, you're always going to have that small bit.
The ballot harvesting encourages a situation where you can defraud the system. It just does.
Yes.
And if you don't
have enough money, and resources, yes.
And if you can do that and you think you can get away with it, then there's a chance that it might happen. But the system encourages fraud.
I keep going back to harvesting like this in particular. It's not really done outside of California, is it?
I'm not aware of any other place that does ballot harvesting, no. Maybe Washington State?
I've seen normally when elections get a bit weird like this, there's always a bit of bad blood on one side or the other.
Right,
you know
but
what I mean.
If it can be made more secure, we should probably investigate going in a more secure direction.
If it was 100% secure with voter ID and whole 9 yards, and say and a result like this happened, would people still investigate it?
Well, you might want to investigate, but I don't think there'd be a full formal litigation process. Right? If everyone who voted presented their ID in such a way that ensured that they were citizens, and the people were 99.9% sure that the people who were voting, all the constituency who are citizens and achieved whatever status to vote in the space where they at, or whatever precinct they are, I think there would be much less issues. Much less issues.
But why is I'm trying to harp back to, why is there such a lack of trust in the integrity of your electoral system in the United States?
I don't know if it's the entirety of the United States. I just know that in California, it is not good.
These votes have been cast and they're just being counted. That's it.
Meantime, Supreme Court decision still looms as votes continue to come in. A ruling is set for later this month that will decide if ballots received after Election Day should be counted. That potentially affects voters in 14 states, including California.
have some breaking news out of California as the runoff is set, and Spencer Pratt will not be involved. It is the incumbent LA Mayor Karen Bass and the council member Nithya Raman joining them in this race. As you can see from Matt Finn, as the latest drop pushing Nithya Raman's strengthen her lead over Pratt, now 22,000 votes ahead of this. And you can see right now here as well the two check marks next to Karen Bass and Raman, as Spencer Pratt now 2 points in the rear of these candidates, as some of these ballots dropping day after day, and that's just the way California runs their election. So
they're still counting votes, and they're going to count votes, I believe, until July the 2nd. So, but it looks at this point like even with the amount of votes that are going to come in, Spencer Pratt's not going to be moving forward. So it's going to be Nithya Raman versus Karen Bass, which was strange because Nithya Raman actually endorsed Karen Bass 3 days before she decided to start running. So very, very interesting.
Yeah, that was a very, very strange turn of events.
But what they're saying is even with 7% of the votes left to be counted, he will not achieve enough votes to go forward. If something strange happens and he manages to edge out Nithya Raman, well, then he'll be the one that goes. But they're putting the check marks up, but I still think that's a little premature.
And can he call for a recount?
Yeah, of course he can call for a recount. Why wouldn't he?
And is he going to?
I don't know. He may. But neither Nithya Raman nor Spencer Pratt's handlers or team or whatever has come forward to say anything yet. They're staying quiet until they're 100% sure that they're going forward, regardless of check marks on screens.
Okay, so they can still call for a recount. So it's not a done deal, as they would say yet.
Correct. A recount can be called, but I don't know.
So there's a bit of light at the end of the tunnel. So we might, as I say, it's nice to kind of finish on a positive note.
Yes, there's a chance that something right could happen.
Yeah, a small chance. I wouldn't break open the cryptocurrency just yet.
Right, but
crypto bets.
Don't hold your breath. Don't call Kalshi. All right, we're going to show a little graph here about some of the issues that we're finding with these kind of direct primaries or jungle primaries, and then we'll the video. All right, so we've got a graph here showing some of the issues with the direct primary or the jungle primary when you also include weak voter identification. So the first one is fraud and impersonation risk. There's a higher risk of improper voting and ballot manipulation due to weak verification. So when it comes to election integrity, really need to assure that it's your citizens that are voting on bonds or for persons for office or whatever. And if you can't show that you're doing that and you're doing it in good faith, you're functionally a bad faith actor and you're causing there to be issues with trust in that election.
But is that a widespread issue?
It's a perceived.
Do you think, in your own personal opinion?
Well, my own personal opinion, yeah, but I think it's a perceived issue by lots of those who are in places who have direct primaries or jungle primaries. So if any of those three candidates had gotten 51% of the vote, then there wouldn't be a runoff election or a general election in November. They would already have achieved the office.
Right. Okay. Do you think it should come down to the top three, or should it always be the top two?
I would prefer top three personally. I think that would just be better.
Yeah. Or even a four-way election would be an interesting one as well. Kind of spice things up a bit.
We have two major parties, and I think that's why there's two. We assume it's going to be a Democrat and a Republican, but in the last very long time, decades, it ends up being a lot of times, and most of the time, Democrat in California. You can choose either the progressive Democrat or the very progressive Democrat.
Yeah, but there seems to be an awful lot of lack of trust in your entire election process, isn't there?
Well,
that's what it seems to keep coming back to.
Especially in jungle primaries. So there's vote splitting and manipulation and reduced representation. Plus, it delays results and it engenders confusion. So if we extend our voting period out over an extended period of time, it feels as if we're incompetent. We can't count votes quickly. Other entire countries, the country of India, that has over 600 million people, 700 million, or at least 600 and some odd million that vote, they seem to get theirs done in a day. Brazil, a day. Germany, a day.
Yep.
France, a day. Ireland. How long does it take in Ireland?
Maybe day, 2 days. If it's a weird election, come very close, maybe third or fourth day. That's very rare.
Right. Well, our precincts are open in California for 4 to 11 days, and there's ballot harvesting and a lot of other things.
And how are they counted? That's what I think people want to know as well. Are they counted in one central hub, or is it hundreds of little hubs?
Pretty sure they all go to the Secretary of State, unless the registrar of voters for the area in a smaller area.
No, I think that's what people are wondering. Are they physically counted in one area, or are they counted in hundreds of different areas?
I think it depends on the registrar of voters and what they've decided to do in their area. I'm not sure about the exact mechanical function of the counting of the votes, though.
Yeah, because that's what people are wondering is, why does it take so long?
Because it's a feature, not a bug. It's a feature, not a bug.
Is it? Yeah, maybe. Yeah. So it's interesting that it always seems to be one side or the other always calling foul in a lot of these elections in the last couple of years.
Well, you don't want to lose. You don't want your team to lose.
Yeah.
So you go.
It doesn't seem to be happening in most other democracies, as I keep harping back to. It just seems to be very kind of specialized in the United States.
I don't really know that somebody who wins a popularity contest is necessarily the one that's going to be the best to perform the function either. But
yeah, I think some countries are figuring that out the hard way at the moment.
Sometimes things don't go the way that you expect it. So
that's
anyway,
true.
We got this thing up here. Y'all can read it, take a look at it. Functionally, I think it shows that just erodes public trust, this process. It could be more secure, and in my opinion, it should.
It could be actually make more sense, and it'll probably put a lot more faith back in the system as well, and it might, put a bit of trust, as you say, give trust back into it.
I think that since every other G20 country is doing voter identification, we should probably get with modernity and do that. It doesn't affect anybody badly to have that, and in fact, it might be a really good thing as well.
Yeah, voter ID normally works in most countries. Your social security card, passport, license, proof of address, so on.
Provided you can come up with an ID.
It has to be a photographic ID, proper state photo. Yeah.
And one that guarantees that if you have it, you're a citizen. If you have this kind of ID, get a passport or whatever it is, you are a citizen. That way you can say, I live here, I vote here, this is my precinct, and I am a citizen.
And out of curiosity, a show question. And how many people in the United States have passports?
I literally have no idea. No idea. There's a card version and a book version.
Yeah. And driver licenses, I presume nearly everyone in the United States has some form of driver license, do they?
Most people who have achieved their majority will get a driver's license. The scale of the United States is such that it's very difficult to get things done unless you're in a city center, unless you have a vehicle.
Yeah, what I'm saying is, what other forms of voter ID could they use if they didn't have a passport or a driver license? Which other ones are covered? I know there's a bill going through trying to go through the Senate and so on.
State identification cards. Well, at the DMV, at the Department of Motor Vehicles, you can get a state identification card as well. They're the ones that issue it.
State, okay. And that's available to most citizens easily enough, is it?
It's available to all citizens, not just most. If you can get the DMV, your local DMV will issue you the identification.
So what you do have to do, just bring down your birth certificate and off you go.
Birth certificate, social security card, yeah, like that.
Okay, interesting. Because I know he was talking about, I know there's a lot of questions around this voter ID. There's a lot of misinformation out there as well.
Right. Well,
around this.
In sanctuary cities and states, there's a problem that they're giving driver's licenses and identification that you're a resident of the state when you're not a citizen. And that's a problem.
Yeah.
Because it gives them access to all kinds of benefits that it's just extracting resources from the citizenry. Not a good idea.
And is there massive unemployment in the United States at the moment that are on Social Security?
Well, that's part of the reason you'd be on Social Security, but that's generally a employment development type thing. So it's an EDD function.
California, anyway. Interesting. All right, interesting.
All righty. For Patrick McCallum, I am Alex Johansson. Like the like, ring the bell, subscribe, and help us beat the algorithm. We're the A&P Gents. We are out.